Now that you've got a mountain stick, which we believe is arguably the strongest trekking pole multi-tool that you can buy anywhere in the world, it needs to have some maintenance. So after you've been in really bad weather, or you've been in the desert, or you've been in the mud, because this is a precision tool, it needs to be cleaned after you're done. So let's go through a basic cleaning process. First of all, separate your stick into its components. So I'll go ahead and take the handle off to start with, set it off to the side. I'll bring out the inner poles, open them up completely, and separate each one of them. So they're separated here. Keep them organized so you don't lose parts. And separate these pieces all together. And then separate the mountain stick main shaft from the adjustable shaft like this. Inspect each of them, make sure that there's no dings or dirt in them, and if there is, then you just wipe them clean with a cloth. It's that simple. One of the most important things to pay attention to is this cone barrel locking system. We want to make sure that this blue cone smoothly expands the yellow barrel. Inside this is an aluminum bolt, and in here is a press nut. These two interface, and there needs to be some lubrication between that interface. If you happen to have a bunch of grime or dirt inside the yellow barrel system, then why don't you go ahead and remove the cone. You do that by putting a Phillips head screwdriver inside. Spin it out like this, and then you can take this off and just rotate it out, all the way out. You can see there's a little split right here in the barrel itself. Just open that up, and you can push this out and around and off pretty simply without damaging anything. Now you can look at and inspect the threads and make sure that they're clean. Take a brush to them, get all the dirt and crap off of them, then you just put this thing back on. You'll open it up with your fingers, it'll slide right around that sleeve, lock into position, then you can take the cone and go ahead and start to twist it on. It's that simple. Now it'll interlock with the yellow basket. Take the screw back and put it right back into the head of this. All this screw does is it prevents the cone from disconnecting with the basket. So you just thread this in until it stops. Don't over tighten it, just needs to sit in there pretty snug. And now you're back in business. Remember, this is just if you grime this thing up, and you kind of have to screw up to grime it up. So if it is grimed up, this is how you take it apart and clean it. Most of the time you won't have to do anything like this if you have normal wear and tear on these. It is important that once you're done, is that you go ahead and just spray a little spray lube in there. If you like WD-40, that's fine, or any kind of light oil like machine oil of some type will be fine. I prefer to use an O-ring lubricant that's got some silicone in it. It's smoother, it lasts better, and it doesn't attract dust. So I would recommend that you use a silicone oil of some type. There's plenty of them out there. We're not any of them in particular that we like the best, but a silicone oil will work great. But if you're in a pinch, WD-40 will fine. Even a drop of motor oil will work if you're out in the middle of nowhere. After you get this all cleaned up, you just wipe it off. Set it to the side. Next, we want to inspect the tips. Make sure that there's not a bunch of grime on the tip. If there is, you just wipe it off. I just use my hands, or I'll use a little towel. Just make sure it feels nice and smooth to you. Now on the inside of the handle, I like to inspect the handle and make sure everything's okay. So I'll take this apart, taking the KVA foam out, inspect it, make sure that it's okay. After you've inspected that and it looks good, you just set it back in place and move on to the clamp. Now the clamp is removable, as you know. One thing you really got to be careful with this clamp, it's a super powerful clamp. If you over clamp this, you will break the clamp. Let me show you an example. This person tightened it up so much that even when it's not clamped on the mountain stick itself, it struggles to even clamp. Now look what happened to it. If you come in here and look closely, now you can see that it's actually broken the plastic open. So they've over clamped it so much that it broke it. So your clamp should never be that tight. It should be just tight enough to keep the mountain stick from pistoning when you put weight on it. And those are micro turns. We're talking 1/4 of a turn each time when you're testing it. Once you get your sweet spot, you don't ever have to adjust it again. So be careful about over tightening it because you will break the clamp. We're happy to help you out if you do break the clamp. We can get you a new one. Like I said, all parts on these are interchangeable and all are replaceable. So once you buy this, if you break something, we can just get the part for you and you're back in business. Another little tip and trick is that I always carry a spare D-ring with us. So, where can you conveniently put a spare D-ring? You just stick it right here in the handle. You can put it in the handle and it'll drop right in the bottom. Put your KVA foam back in. Now you see it sticks out quite a bit more there. You only want about 1 finger breadth, this distance, off of there. So you don't have a bunch of pressure pushing in on this thing, what makes it harder so when you try to seat the handle. So I'll trim off a little bit, maybe trim off that much with a pair of scissors. Once you're done, then you can tap out the part that you lost and are still in business with your handle. One thing that I always do on all of my sticks, I know this may sound odd, but I'll take a piece of duct tape. I like the good duct tape. So this is some military duct tape, but if you have some of the Gorilla tape, it works great. Right at the base of the handle, then all you do is roll this up on. You're probably going, well, why would I do something like this? The reason is you can't improvise tape out in the wilderness. So if you have a blister or you have a part that fails or you need some sticky, strong substance, you always have it with you. Now you never have to worry about it again because you have it on your mountain stick and it can sit there for a couple of years and then you replace it as you need to. So a little trick there, a little bit of duct tape on here. Goes a long ways for you. Now that everything has been cleaned, we can put it all back together. Again, oiling this inside here where the threads meet the barrel and the cone are really important. You want to prevent a galvanic reaction. I have an example of a galvanic reaction right here. This is one that a client left their stick wet for months. So they went and waded some rivers, didn't take things apart, didn't clean anything. And what happened is there was a galvanic reaction between the press nut and the threaded shaft. So now these guys are bound together. They are not gonna move. So the only way you can fix this is to replace the part. It's easily avoidable just by keeping it clean and lubricated.